It's 5 o'clock now, and we will begin our Committee of Adjustment meeting for September. For everyone's information, we will generally deal with each application according to order of agenda. Extra copies are available on the back table in case you want one. Anyone present who wishes to speak in support or against an application, as well as anyone with questions or concerns, will have an opportunity to speak. The committee will make the decision following each application. If there is anyone present who is not an applicant or an agent but is interested in the decision, you may fill out one of the forms on the back table or get in touch with our Secretary Treasurer Sherry Mott by email. And please list the file number and your full name and mailing address on the inquiry. Copies of the decisions are automatically sent to the applicant and agent within 15 days of the meeting. In order to be kept advised of a possible appeal to the local planning tribunal, you must request that you be sent a copy of the committee's decision on the application. The decisions are final if there are no appeals 20 days after the committee's decision. May I please remind everyone that we are being recorded and to turn off your cell phones and such. So then the first order of business is I'll do a bit of a roll call. Most of our members are here in house. But so we have Adam and Marcel and Lisa and myself and Rudy. Are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. And Linda?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so we have a full committee. The first order of business is to determine if any of our members have any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Are there any? Hearing none. All the members have received the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? If not, I have a resolution before me, and I need a mover and seconder to accept the meeting minutes from August. Adam is moving, and Lisa is seconding. All those in favor? And Rudy?
Yes.
And Linda?
Yes.
Thank you. So our first application tonight will be file number ANPL 2022183, a minor variance in the name of Rosemary and David Frederick Trevelli. And the planner will give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received to reconstruct an existing dwelling requiring relief of about 16.2% from the maximum permitted lot coverage for vacation dwellings, 8.6% from the maximum permitted lot coverage for accessory structures, 5.52 meters, the minimum required front yard setback of 6 meters, 0.55 meters from the required rear yard setback of 1.2 meters for accessory structures, and 0.22 from the maximum permitted height of 7 meters. This application was heard previously at the August Committee of Adjustment meeting. It was deferred to permit staff and the applicant more time to work together and find an amended proposal which would be supportable. It's my understanding that the proposal has not been amended, so my evaluation made from last month remains the same, specifically that the application does not meet the 4 tests of a minor variance, and therefore I'm not recommending approval. Thank you. I'm here for questions.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions? Is there an applicant or agent?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee. I'm Brad Deming. I'm the agent. This is Paul Demir. He's the son-in-law of the owners.
Okay. Any comments?
Sorry. Yes, we did touch base with the planning committee, and it didn't seem to go one way or the other. So what I'd like to ask the chair and committee if we could possibly discuss the shed part first, and then we'll then discuss the cottage part. Reasoning for that is last time there was quite a bit of confusion as far as what we were asking for and what we weren't amongst the whole committee and everything. So I've just thought maybe this way we could be a little more
Is now joining.
understanding about it. If that would please everyone.
Sure.
So as far as the shed goes, we are asking for the rear setback of, instead of 1.2 meters of 6.5 meters, which we believe is minor. We're also asking for the 0.22 8-inch height difference, which again, we feel is minor, and then the lot coverage. So I would just thought if there's any questions on that part of it, we can maybe answer that.
And Laura, are we able to break apart an application like this into chunks?
Through the chair, I don't see why we can't discuss them all individually.
Well, no, but what I mean is if you've got a recommendation, can we, I don't know what the rule is, can we approve part of this and not the whole thing, or like how does that?
Sure, through the chair. That's a fair question. I have seen in the past that the committee has approved amended.
Is now joining.
So that is the question.
So where I'm going with it is if that's possible, then sure, it makes sense to break it apart like this, but if it's gonna be one, you know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you, are you asking if we can approve part and not the other part, or all and some?
Well, what I'm asking is so we've just heard from Mr. Deming that, well, in this case, they feel like the 0.22 is minor and the 0.65 is minor. So are we going to go through every one of these and agree which ones are minor and which ones are not? Yeah.
Well, like Mr. Deming said, let's discuss the shed portion first, and then we can kind of evaluate it all for at the end. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I wasn't asking actually to break it down to vote on separate
No,
things.
I don't think that's what we're going to end up doing.
Just trying to make it clear on both parts, and
Yeah.
then we can try to nail it down.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I just have some comments, Alan.
Okay, go ahead, Linda.
Thank you. Okay, so as it relates to the shed, I noticed in the report, it said the justification for the height is to mitigate flooding issues. And I feel that, so what's permitted is 7 meters, and I feel that what they're asking for in terms of relief from the height, I feel that is minor. So I would support the request as it relates to the shed.
Okay. Anybody else? Rudy? Okay. So moving on to the rest of the application, Mr. Deming. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so the rest of the application for the addition of the deck, what we're looking at is a lot coverage, and this was kind of part of the confusion last time. It looks like, and it still is on your notes, that we're asking for 16% over and above the 15, which in essence is true, but they've already been granted 29.7%. So we're asking only for another 1.4% is what we're asking for. Now, as far as the concern last time with the deck moving out on the north side of the deck, it would put us to the 0.48 meters from the property line. Planning staff was worried that because the angle, the lot is on an angle, that the people could build out all the way on the south end too and be 0.48 from the whole front of the cottage. What we're suggesting, and planning said they couldn't do this, but it could be done here, is we're suggesting that if the chair and committee are okay with everything, that we would be 0.48 meters from the north, a corner of the proposed deck to the property line, and 2.3 meters from the south side of the approved deck to the property line. And if that is in writing, then they could never put the south end that close to the property.
So just to be clear, the property line you're referencing is the unopened road allowance side property line?
No, it is that would be the west. It's the road side, the off of Ferris Street.
Ferris Street
Right,
property line.
right.
The frontage property line.
The frontage, yes,
Okay,
yes.
just so we're clear,
Yeah, sorry.
the map's not geographically.
Right. So
Okay,
I'm not sure if you have the survey.
no,
I can hand this around if you want, and it might give you a better idea. Because it does show the building on it, and it shows how close we are here and how far we are here.
yeah.
And then, so that, the angle of that there, so that's what we're asking, is to make,
So we're not getting into an encroachment issue at all, are we?
no,
Okay.
No.
That's a whole other.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? On that portion of it? Okay, any comments from planning staff?
Hey, thanks. Just through the chair to add some clarification on that lot coverage piece. In how the zoning bylaw is written, I understand that what was permitted previously through a previous minor variance to today what's being proposed, it's a minor increase, but how the zoning bylaw is written, it represents that large piece of relief that's required. So cumulatively, 15% is the maximum permitted, and this proposes a 16.2% increase from that altogether. So just to clarify that.
Which comes to in total over 30%, right?
Yes, that's correct. So again, just to kind of restate previous points, I understand in this application, the proposal is relatively minor, but cumulatively, we're looking at what I believe doesn't meet the 4 tests when reading all the policies of the official plan, the Lakeshore Special Policy Area, and the zoning bylaw. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Seeing what our screen's doing here. Okay, all right, wait, well, that's better. Yeah, now we got that back. Okay. Yeah, I have a problem with the 30% lot or the over. It's almost encroaching on 32% coverage. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels on that, but I'm of the same thought of the height as Linda. I could live with that, but the lot coverage is just starting to snowball. Go ahead.
thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, something that's hard for anybody to see is the deck is, let's say here, the stairs going down to the grass is 40 inches. End of the stairs is right there, and it's 10 feet long, and that was approved. All we want to do is that. And what that into that stairway is right now. So that would be half the deck. All they are going to do there will just slide it down. That takes up the other half. Leave the stairway.
I can just speak.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the biggest reason is
you have to speak up into the microphone.
the biggest reason we're looking at doing this is it's a very narrow deck. To sit with 6 people, you're sitting in a row, and to make it safer, we just want to go out. I mean, all this meter stuff confuses me. It's like 3.5 feet, I think. again, there's existing flower beds already there. We would just take out the flower beds and go to 3.5 feet.
Great, okay.
Be a lot safer that way.
Committee have anything further?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it's Rudy.
Yep, go ahead, Rudy.
I just have a question for planning staff. Is the bigger sticking point for the planning staff the front yard setback, which brings it back to 0.48 meters? Is that the biggest sticking point that planning staff have with this application?
Thank you. Through the chair, Rudy, that's a great question. I believe we also kind of touched base on this last month. From a planning perspective, I'm less concerned with the accessory structures. The justification provided kind of referenced like the need for it and keeping it like safe from the flooding. But essentially the proposal to extend the deck, its impact on a front yard setback and lot coverage, when reading it in relation to these community design guidelines, and the justification being to get a better view, I'm having more difficult from a supportive standpoint for the deck itself and the lot coverage for the main part. Thank you.
Okay, is there any members of the public that wish to speak to this application? Online or in person? No? Okay. I'm just going to ask what the wishes of the committee are.
Okay, Alan, I would be prepared to make a motion that we approve the requested relief for the accessory structure. And as far as the front yard setback for the extension of the deck, refuse that.
Okay. Lisa? Second that? Okay. So, Mr. Deming, go ahead one more time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The owners are in agreement with that. If we will forget the front part, if that's what you will, if you'll accept everything for the shed.
That's sounds like the motion. Okay, so we have a motion moved by Linda, seconded by Lisa. An application that in accordance with section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the requested relief excuse me, is not considered appropriate for the zoning for the proposed development, is not minor in nature and does not maintain the general intent of the official plan, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as application. However, the requested relief of the accessory structure is approved. So I'll just pencil that in. So we're refusing the second portion of the application, the relief on the front setback. Bear with me a minute here. Accessory. Okay, so moved by Linda, seconded by Lisa. All those in favor, Marcel? And Lisa, yes. Rudy?
Mr. Chairman, before I vote, I'd like to understand again what we're approving here exactly.
So we have a motion to approve the secondary structure relief, but we are refusing the application portion on the front setback. And that also includes the lot coverage.
That'll include the lot coverage as well, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in agreement with that.
Okay. And Adam? And Linda?
Yes.
Myself. The motion is carried. And that's kind of approved as amended. Pardon? Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Downing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Just before we move on, Alan, with regards to my motion, the accessory structure did have a component that was lot coverage as well. So my motion was to approve all the relief requested for the accessory structure, not just the height.
Okay.
Okay, so it was 8.6% from the maximum permitted lot coverage for accessory structures of 10% to permit a coverage of 18.6%. And I just want to make sure that was clarified.
We are clarifying them right now. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
The applicant is good with that too. So.
Okay.
Okay. So next up, we have a minor variance application ANPL 2022183 in the name of Rosemary and David Frederick Trevelyan. And the planner, oh, sorry, we just did that. Sorry. All right. So now we have a minor variance ANPL 2022112 in the name of Paul Thomas White, and the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received to reconstruct an existing vacation dwelling requiring relief of 21% from the maximum permitted lot coverage of 15%, to permit a total coverage of 41% and 8.75 meters from the minimum rear yard setback of 9 meters to permit a decreased rear yard setback of 0.2 meters. So this application was also heard previously at the June Committee of Adjustment, and it was deferred to permit staff and the applicant more time to work together and find an amended proposal which would be supportable. So I met with the agent and the owner, and we had some discussions about purchasing that back portion of the lot, which is the ministry is escaping me right now. Thank you. Owned by the M&R F, I think now. So it's my understanding that that may not have happened yet, and so the application has not been changed, and as such, my evaluation made last month will remain the same. Specifically that it would not meet the 4 tests for a minor variance, some similar policies and consideration that we've discussed for the last application, and it wouldn't address in what we would see as an encroachment of the proposed balcony onto these MNRF lands, and so therefore I would not be recommending for approval. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions? And to the applicant.
I have a question.
go ahead.
So you've indicated that they're requesting relief of 21% of the permitted lot coverage. And is that all for the cottage, or does that include accessory buildings, the 41%?
Thank you. Through the chair, it would be for the cottage.
Okay. And the rear yard setback of 0.2 meters, is that the balcony?
You can permit me one moment. I'll review the mapping. I believe it was for the balcony as proposed. But the application as submitted, I don't think it addressed the encroachment, which was a concern that we addressed at the time of the meeting in June.
Okay. So the relief of 21% from the lot coverage, the number, it doesn't add up. So it's either less than 41% or it's 26% relief being requested. Okay, so if you add 15 plus the 21, that's 36%. So I want clarification on what they're requesting, please, and thank you. I'm not hearing any response. I don't know. Is that something?
Handler is working on it.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if it was my computer or, okay.
Nope.
I'll be patient.
Yep.
Thank you. Through the chair, I can review the application more in fulsome, but what I can note is what is important is the zoning administrator determined that the lot coverage incorporates the leased land and Rogers Avenue. So the 41% lot coverage doesn't represent the actual amount of relief required. So there may be a discrepancy in the public notice summary, but the 41% isn't correct as it is from what's proposed in the application. So I think there are a number of concerns in terms of what's being requested and what's required.
Maybe Linda, we can get a comment from the applicant or the agent.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mike Ross. I'm the agent. Paul White is the owner. Thank you for committee for letting us speak on this. It is, Long Point is very unique and complex, just like Turkey Point was on the last one, as you all know. Client and I have been working with the planning department for the last 10 months, trying to get things going on this. So a few months ago, we realized if we want to make this work, my client needs to purchase the M&R property. So we all know, what do we blame it on? We blame it on COVID. It's going to take forever to get the M&R to purchase this property from the M&R. My client has made an offer to purchase. They have accepted it. Now it needs to have a survey done so we can proceed to owning that property and joining it all together. This could take, the M&R says this could take 2 years because they're so backlogged. My client was hoping we were starting construction on it this winter, so he never winterized the cottage. So his cottage is virtually useless right now, but that's beside the point. So the client has a signed agreement with the M&R for the property. What will happen when the survey is complete and he purchases property? My calculation, right now it's 41% lot coverage for the cottage, which includes a 2-car garage. When we own the M&R property, it will reduce the lot coverage to 31%. That will also reduce the variance for the rear yard setback, make it null and void because we will have however many meters, 9 meters at least, excuse me, for rear yard setback. So what we are sort of asking at this point is if we give you a legal affidavit to that we are going, or my client is going to continue the purchase of the property, that we can take this minor variance forward tonight. Some of the other things that we need to consider in this is, I know the zoning bylaw says 15% for cottage, 10% for additional outbuildings. My client, because it's a busy area down there, they want the garage attached to the cottage. So, you know, the way the zoning bylaw reads, at 15% with attached garage doesn't leave you a lot of room. They have fishing boats and hunting equipment. They want to keep it inside to make the property look nicer, as well as for security reasons. Saying that, like, I like to think of it as 25% lot coverage if you include the two together. In the same sense of why this going to be so much lot coverage is the Long Point Conservation Authority doesn't allow us to put furnaces, the mechanical water heaters, hydro panels, etc., in the crawl space anymore. So we now need to have a mechanical room on the main floor. My client's wife has health issues, doesn't allow her accessible to climb the stairs to a bedroom. So the bedroom is also has to be on the main level, as well as a washroom, a full washroom, obviously. So these are the reasons we're asking for so much. We already have a septic design, a grading design completed, ready for approval. We have approval from the Long Point Region Conservation Authority already on the property. Sorry, I just can't read my own writing here sometimes. So I guess what I'm asking, the other issue is they have to do something with the cottage of sort, because with the water levels in the few years, is all formed underneath the cottage, and the cottage is virtually useless. So what I'm asking the committee, and what I'm asking, I also took some pictures of some neighboring cottages. You know, they are all, I don't know the exact percentage of lot coverage, but they are also, you know, on the high end of lot coverages, which I'm sure have been granted here in the past. So what I think my client and I are asking is that you approve this minor variance, and we're willing to give a written affidavit, a legal affidavit, saying that we are going to continue with the purchase of the M&R property to make this not seem like such a large lot coverage.
Okay. Go ahead.
All white. Mike had covered, my wife has got a severe disability, and she can walk with canes right now, but it's inevitable later on down the road, she's not going to be able to go. So that's why we're asking for the bigger footprint. We want to stay in Long Point. We've been there for 20 years. We want to stay there. You know, if you look at what has been built, these palatial cottages around us, and again, I won't speak to the lot coverage size, but if you want to look at the pictures, it's evident. So in my view, what's another cottage that, like, I'm not asking for a palatial place. I'm just asking for something that I can use in my cottage. I've lost it for 2 years. I paid my taxes, and we can't even stay there.
Okay.
We have no water, and we've got black mold. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything from the committee?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Linda.
I can save mine for last.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Rudy, I just have a question to planning staff. Have they done the calculation in terms of lot coverage if the applicant ends up purchasing the M&R property?
Thank you. Through the chair, thank you for your question. I wanted to jump in to clarify. So what I think is occurring in the public notice summary is the total amount of relief, that 41% reflects what's requested on the application. I think that so that mathematical error that Linda noticed is correct. It should be a different number. But the key item that the zoning administrator determined in the previous time we spoke about this is that that 41% incorporates what is legally their lot and a portion of the MNRF lands, which is not their lot. So hypothetically, if this was approved, it would be an issue because it's actually a larger proportion of lot coverage that's impacting their current lot that they own, plus an encroachment. So we would need to, at minimum, recalculate the actual lot coverage. And again, address the encroachment. I think it might be an issue at a permit stage to permit an encroachment. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, Rudy?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I guess based on the planner's comments, does it make some sense to do this application as a deferral to work some of these things out, or? I mean, I'm sympathetic to the applicant that hopefully something can be worked out at some point, but I'm not sure at this point we can make a decision on that.
Yeah, I feel it, to be quite honest with you, I think you've put the cart before the horse a little bit. I mean, with the purchase of the property and that sort of thing should have been all ironed out maybe even before you applied. That's just my feeling. Go ahead, Linda.
So I sympathize with the property owner that dealing with the M&R and purchasing that property is going to take some time. And I agree with the agent that the zoning bylaw kind of penalizes you for having an attached garage. Because if it's a detached garage, you're allowed 15% plus 10. But if it's attached, you're allowed 15% only. And that makes absolutely no sense to me. So I think the zoning bylaw does penalize people for having an attached garage. The purchase of the M&R land would reduce or eliminate the rear yard setback request. So overall, I would be leaning towards supporting this application, particularly if the owner would supply the affidavit saying that they are purchasing the M&R property, and also be required to show proof of the accepted agreement of purchase and sale with M&R to planning staff. So they would have to do both. But that's how I feel I would be willing to support it with that condition added, or those conditions added. Anyways, that's my comments.
Okay, thank you. Marcel?
Does anybody really know what some of these other lots beside this one here, they look like they have 40% already. Some of this lot coverage is pretty well the same as what we're asking for, or what the client is asking for.
We're just doing a quick check by the looks of that. For those that are tuning in.
Thank you for your patience through the chair. I was just reviewing my old report. I did review similar cottages along Rogers Avenue, looking at 2 recent minor variances which had been approved, which had the effect of increasing lot coverage. So one approved in 2017 sought relief of 6%, and then another one approved in 2017 sought relief of 2.99%. And believe it's reviewing. Yep, that's all I have to say about that. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I would be in agreement with Linda. Second that, if she makes that a motion, that as long as that's the affidavit is signed at that point, property is going to be purchased, I would agree to move approval.
Okay, so can I suggest that move approval with the following condition added, that number 1, a proof of purchase condition, and number 2, a merge condition. Okay,
I'm just going to clarify, Alan, it would be proof of an accepted agreement of purchase and sale. If you're asking for proof of purchase, it would have had to happen.
yeah, that's basically the same. We just
Yeah.
want that condition in the application approval. Adam? Turn your mic off, Marcel, sorry.
I want to swing back just for a second around what Hannelore said about there being an issue with the permit. If there's an encroachment, is what we're doing solving that?
Through the chair, that's my understanding. So without that portion of the MNRF lands being purchased, as it is today, would create an encroachment of a balcony over lands which they don't own. So, yeah.
Okay, so where we're going does solve that second part that you brought up earlier.
That's my understanding.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Go ahead, yep.
Just in response to that, Adam, I think there's a little miscalculation on the map. The actual extension of the deck, the end of the deck, balcony, whatever you want to call it, is going to be like 6 inches off the property line. So it will not be a boundary issue. I'll make sure of that when it's submitted to the building department.
Okay, anything further? We have a motion on the floor that's been moved but not seconded quite yet, but Rudy, do you have anything else?
Oh, I'm fine, Mr. Chairman. I can accept what's being proposed here.
Okay, Linda?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay, so I have a mover by Marcel. Can I get a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Okay, Linda, thank you. So that we'll add in a condition of proof of purchase condition and a merge condition. Oh, yeah. Can we get a timeline? Do you have what's a 2-year provincial timeline, but you already have the proof of purchase condition and you have it on hand. The merge condition will take some time also. Okay. But at least this gets your process moving along anyway. Okay, so just bear with me a bit. So, moved by Marcel, seconded by Linda, in accordance with section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the requested relief is considered appropriate for the proposal. Development is minor in nature and does maintain the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application, subject to the additional conditions of proof of purchase and merge. And all those in favor, Marcel? Yes. And Lisa? Yes. And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam? Yes. And Linda?
Yes.
And myself, and signed by me and approved. Okay. Thank you. All right. Moving right along. Next up, we have a application minor variance ANPL 2022-214 in the name of Julie Anderson and Amat Singh. And the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So the proposal is essentially to construct a vacation home and to construct a new accessory structure. So there's essentially 2 components to the relief that they're requesting. They can be divided in terms of the vacation home, and the other components are specifically for the accessory structure. So in terms of the vacation home, the applicant is requesting 1.8% from the maximum permitted lot coverage of 15% to permit a lot coverage of 16.8%. For the maximum, the other provision that they're requesting is 0.5 meters from the maximum permitted height of 9.1 meters to permit a height for the dwelling of 9.25 meters. And for the accessory structure, they are requesting relief of 0.25 meters from the max permitted height for an accessory building of 7 meters to permit a height of 7.25 meters. They're also requesting relief from the maximum usable floor area of 100 square meters for accessory structures to permit a usable floor area of 165.2 square meters, as well as relief of section 3.2.1B of the zoning bylaw to permit the accessory structure to be located in the front yard. The property is designated resort residential and is zoned resort residential in the zoning bylaw. So for this application, staff are requesting deferral in order to allow staff time to re-notify the public of the application with the correct relief requested by the applicant. The notification was resent, but it was actually resent incorrectly. So to actually encompass what the proposal is asking for, and staff would also like to work with the applicant to discuss the size of the accessory structure. There was also public comment submitted for this one, so that also factored into the reason for the deferral request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is the applicant or agent on the line? Oh, sorry, he's better than on the line. He's right here.
Mike Ross again, the applicant. I understand clerical things happen. It's very disappointing because, we wanted, winter is coming. We're thinking of the cost of the concrete and getting rolling, but I know there's nothing we can do about it. And I have to apologize. I was talking to my other client. So what was we had a clerical error with the last week with the usable area. What is the clerical error this time?
So it was the usable area. The usable floor area was in the notice incorrect. The numbers wrong. And the other component was to request relief of section 3.2.1B. It's to basically allow the accessory structure to be in the front yard as opposed to projecting in the front yard.
And that got missed.
Yeah.
In the notice as well. Okay. Well, I guess it has to be deferred. So like I say, it's very disappointing. Obviously it's not a huge item, but it happened. So.
Anything from the committee?
Well, I just have a comment, and I just want to recognize that staff are human and errors do happen. So it's unfortunate, but the public notice has to go out correctly. And also I wanted to ask staff, do they have any idea when this application will come back to the committee?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we're currently in September. I would believe October, November would be realistic timeframe. I know sooner than later would be more desirable.
Okay, well, in light of the error, I would encourage staff to perhaps try and shoot for October, if at all possible. I know the circulation has to go out for a certain length of time, so I don't know if it's possible or not, but the applicants are, trying to get work done and line up contractors, and all the delays don't help with all of that. So anyways, but recognizing that, you're human and errors happen. So thank you.
We're going to try and facilitate that. Okay, so I have a motion. I don't have a motion for deferral, but can I get a motion for deferral? Lisa?
I'll make, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's Rudy. I would agree with Linda's comments too. We can expedite this. That would be much appreciated. But in light of that, I would move deferral.
Okay, so Lisa has moved, and I will take Linda as a seconder.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. for deferral. So file number ANPL 2022-214 to re-notify the application of the correct relief requesting by the applicant. Staff would like to work with the applicant to discuss the size of the accessory structure and no public input. While some public input has been received at this point and will be forwarded to the committee when the report comes back, I'm guessing, correct? The public comment will come to us eventually.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
It doesn't have to be entered on the record today, but.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Regardless, it should be in the last page of the PDF of the report. There should be a copy of the email that was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
There
so-
is, yeah. So the committee already has that. Anyway, and therefore will be considered as part of the application. So all those in favor, Marcel? And Lisa? Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam? And Linda?
Yes.
And myself? And let's sign. That is deferred. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, next up we have file number ANPL
Is now exiting.
2021-358 Ag Invest Farmland 2 Inc. And the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. If it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, I'll present the severance and minor variance concurrently. Is it okay to present the reports concurrently? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, it is.
So regarding bnpl 2021-358, an application has been received to sever a parcel having an approximate frontage of 13 meters, an area of 4,740 square meters, and retain a parcel having an area roughly of 41 hectares as the severance of a dwelling made surplus through farm amalgamation, with an easement having a frontage and width of 2 meters, a depth of approximately 192 meters, an area of 476 square meters for the purpose of an underground hydro line. The severance application is being heard with minor variance application ANPL 2021-357, which is received to recognize the deficiencies created through severance application discussed, requiring relief of 16.7 meters from the required lot frontage of 30 meters to permit a lot frontage of 13.3 meters. So we had heard these applications previously and they were deferred by the agent to add the easement mentioned. Just to kind of repeat some notes from previous, we just noticed a concrete pad not identified in the survey. There may be some issues concerning encroachments on the severed and retained. And there's a hydro vault located on the lands to be retained. We also noted some shared access for the buildings on the severed and retained lands, which could cause some compatibility issues. So attachment 1 for the proposed conditions address these 3 items. I believe the agent has also suggested that condition number 9 be amended to request that the power lines which intersect the severed and retained lands be disconnected, and planning would be supportive of that amendment. With that said, to be brief, with regards to severance application BNPL 2021-358, staff have evaluated the proposal and find it meets the intent of the PPS official plan and zoning bylaw and recommend it for approval subject to the conditions. I believe motions will be heard for that application first.
So it's 57 first. You're saying?
Oh, sorry. BNPL 2021-357.
Do that one first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
So anything from the committee? On 57 was nothing. Okay. Is there an applicant or agent? Applicant or agent, only once? No, okay. Any member of the public that wishes to speak to these applications? No, okay. So we have a staff recommendation on a bnpl 2021-357 of recommendation to approve. Can I get a mover? And a seconder, please? I'm sorry?
Sorry, through the chair, will the conditions need to be amended before the motion is passed for approval? Just for clarification?
We'll amend them in the minutes. Okay. Well, where was I? Second, I need a seconder, please. For sound. So file number bnpl 2021-357. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, complies with the policies of the Norfolk County official plan regarding the creation of a lot within an agricultural zone, and meets the intent of the zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All in favor, Marcel? And Lisa? And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam? Linda?
Yes.
That's approved. And file number AMPL 2021-358. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, complies with the policies of the Norfolk County official plan regarding the creation of a lot within the agricultural area, and meets the intent of the zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. Can I get a mover, please? Lisa? And seconded by Adam. And all those in favor, Marcel? And Lisa? And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam? And Linda?
Yes.
Myself? That's approved. Moving right along. Let's see. Go. File number BNPL 2022-208, Thomas Roberts, and Scott Thompson. From the planning of the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage approximately of 236 meters, a width of 229 meters, and a regular depth of approximately 328 meters, and an area of 19.4 acres, and retain a parcel having an area of 28.26 acres as the creation of a lot in the urban area of Waterford. The subject lands are located southwest of the intersection of Blue Line Road and Thompson Road West. The lands to be severed are currently vacant and designated urban residential and zoned development. The lands to be retained are designated and zoned agricultural and are currently used for agricultural purposes. So to provide some context, a severance application in 2018 was previously approved but has since lapsed, which is necessitating this severance application. So it's just replicating that. There's also an associated zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision to facilitate the creation of some lots for single detached and semi-detached dwellings, which is being worked through with staff in a separate process. And a minor variance application in 2018 requesting relief of 2.4 hectares from the minimum lot area of 10 hectares in the development zone for the severed parcel was approved to address the deficiency created through what was previously an application is this application today. A member of the public has submitted 3 comments. So 2 were previously submitted in response to the zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision. And as I mentioned, these files are still pending. The comment concerning the severance notes it does not object to the consent application, but does object to the subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment. Concerns primarily compatibility between the future residential uses and an existing concrete plant, which will be addressed at the zoning bylaw and draft plan of subdivision stage. So with that said, planning are of the opinion that this proposal today meets the intent of the official plan and provincial policy statement and zoning bylaw, and recommended for approval, subject to the conditions. And it's my understanding the agent has reached out to discuss some conditions and may want to speak to them, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the committee? Agent or applicant on hand? Afternoon.
Good afternoon, and Mr. Chair and committee. Through you, my name is Nathan Colomé. I'm a lawyer at the Brimage Law Group in Simcoe, and I am the agent for the owners, the Thompsons. And I'd like to thank planner for her report and ask that you approve the consent, but strike out conditions 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So condition 2, as through you, Mr. Chair, as the planner mentioned, it was already approved. So condition 2 is redundant because it's already been approved. So there's no need for condition 2. Conditions 3, 4, 5, and 6, these all relate to the future development of the property. What we're asking for today is my clients are farmers. We are not the developers of the land. We need this severance to, this consent severance to sell the property to the developer next month. So we are not involved in development whatsoever. We're not involved in the plan of subdivision. We're not involved in the zoning bylaw. We're simply asking for the severance to be approved today. So, and as the planner acknowledged in her report on page 3, a draft plan of subdivision will be the mechanism used to ensure that appropriate municipal services are provided and create the individual lots, and that parkland dedication is addressed. So that's what these conditions concern. So number 3, receipt of an undertaking from the owner confirming that the requirements of the parkland dedication bylaw will be addressed. Again, that can be dealt with at the plan of subdivision stage, which we have nothing to do with. Number 4, receipt from Environmental and Infrastructure Services Division indicating that the water and sanitary sewer connections have been installed. Again, plan of subdivision stage, which we're not involved with. Number 5, a receipt from DevEng that a drawing was retrieved to identify the proposed restoration within Thompson Road West. Again, plan of subdivision stage, not us. And then lastly, number 6, the applicant is to apply for road occupancy permit prior to commencement of any work in the right of way. Again, plan of subdivision stage, nothing to do with us. We're simply asking for a bare land severance to get this sold to the developer.
Okay, thank you. Planning staff?
Thank you.
Not to put you on the hot seat.
I'm getting comfortable with it these days. So yeah, condition number 2, I think Mr. Colomay is correct. I don't see any problem as it's already been approved. The intent of number 3 is just to ensure the owner understands that parkland dedication will be addressed at the draft plan of subdivision, and we're not applying that. I believe it's $500 for the consent, so we're just clarifying that that's understood. So I would defer to the director to kind of make the call on that one, just in case. Conditions number 4 to 6 are conditions from the development engineering department. So I personally wouldn't be comfortable removing them without a further discussion with that department, which hopefully I kind of made clear to the agent. Yeah.
Okay. Trish. Welcome back, Trish.
Sorry, I'm just recovering from illness, so I don't have a very good voice right now. I'm not contagious though. So in terms of condition number 3, we did review this as staff, and the way the bylaw is written is that if we don't do something, it sort of hangs there. So the solution was we didn't want to negatively impact the current property owner to pay that fee. We wanted to make sure it was clear and transparent that the intent was it applies at the subdivision stage. So it would simply be, essentially we're waiving that fee now for the current property owner, and it would be applied at the subdivision stage. So that was the intent to do it, but it wasn't supposed to be onerous. It was supposed to be a clear, transparent path from what should happen in the future. So that's all it was. In terms of the other conditions, my understanding is those were applied or provided through development engineering. And it's hard for me to give opinion on different departments in terms of what they're requiring. Other than those are what development engineering has applied as their conditions.
Okay. If I may further, Mr. Chair. So,
sure thing.
If it comes to the committee again, this this property is going to go through, it has been going through, because again, it is an in progress plan of subdivision. 4, 5, and 6 are all going to be dealt with at the plan of subdivision stage. So it's not as if we strike those conditions today, any developer is going to be able to just sort of get away with anything. They're all going to get dealt with through that thorough process. And it's completely unnecessary today to impose those conditions on my clients when all we're looking to do is to convey this property to the developer next month. By imposing these conditions on my client, you're going to add substantial delays to things that are going to get dealt with through a separate process that staff are going to be involved in. So it's not as if I'm asking for something to be completely removed. It's just we're asking that it be properly dealt with at the plan of subdivision stage, which it will be. There's no way that these things are going to get not dealt with. We're just asking that we not be required to deal with it at this stage. Is again, we are not developing the property. We are simply seeking a severance consent to convey bare land to a developer who can do whatever they want with it and deal with staff and deal with any conditions they want to deal with at that stage.
Okay. No, I hear what you're saying. Anything from the committee?
So just to ask planning staff, if we remove those conditions, they are upheld at permitting stage. Like, my question is, there's no way someone could get a permit to do something on this property without those being addressed. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Thank you, through the chair. So I'll attempt to answer this. So these conditions do appear to be something that would be linked to future draft plan of subdivision and would be required at that time and through that process. Having not read the report or being completely familiar with the file at a high level, I would agree, Linda, that these things would have to occur at the draft plan of subdivision stage.
And if I may, one last comment, Mr. Chair. For context, none of these conditions were required the first time around. It's only because the developer has gotten further along in the process that these things have come up. But again, they're two different streams. We have the bare land severance that we're asking for today, and whatever the developer wants to do with the property after the fact, that's their issue. But again, for today, conditions 2 to 6 should be struck as part of the approval. So
you're saying the first time that it was severed, these conditions weren't attached?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
2+ years.
Yeah, because again, there's always a danger in these types of things. You always want the context of what's going to happen to the property, but it's always important to say, well, what are we actually contemplating today?
No, I understand what you're saying, but I also think that we need to protect ourselves to make sure that these conditions are taken care of at some point in time.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's all going to be dealt with in the plan of subdivision stage.
Okay, all right. And I have faith in the system that'll happen, but I just want to make sure that we're safe track.
Okay, so I'm asking then if we could like make approval subject to development engineering, like waiving those conditions to be dealt with at a future date or during development stages. So we can put the onus back on development engineering to be satisfied that they can be dealt with later. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I just would like to comment to the agent. I'm guessing that you probably would have seen this report prior to it coming to the committee tonight, and you may have had an opportunity to deal with this with development engineering and planning staff prior to now.
Through the chair, I was away on vacation until Monday, and on Monday, and I was sick with COVID as well. And on Monday, as soon as I did get in the office, I did email planning staff. And so I did make them aware of our concerns as soon as possible. So I sent an email to them 2 days ago.
All right, so can I get a motion from the committee?
Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve it, subject to development engineering, removing those conditions to be dealt with during development stages.
Okay. Approving. So that was conditions 2 through 6, right?
I'm not sure they were all development engineering conditions, but
Yeah.
that, I don't have them in front of me, so as long as staffer can verify those are the conditions.
Okay, go ahead, Trish.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify. So the explanation around the parkland, hopefully that was sufficient and would remain as a condition as a, so we have a paper trail.
Yeah. Make that part of the condition. The subject.
If I may, Mr. Chair, looking for clarification as to what the approval will be with respect to is my ask on behalf of my client is that those conditions be removed with the understanding that they're going to be dealt with in the development stage. Is that like I'm asking for a full striking because we can't bind ourselves to whatever the developer is going to do, because the reality is that if economic conditions change, developer may not decide to do anything with this property. They may sell it to someone else.
Well,
So we're asking for a clear striking.
I don't think you're going to get that. I think you're going to get subject to development and engineering removing conditions 2 through 6 with a paper trail. That's how I'm wording it. And that's, if we vote in favor, that'll be the motion. So
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what the approval
I
is.
think
So
the county, obviously the county is trying to protect themselves with your transaction and any future development.
so assuming approval, what will actually be required?
An email from the department head on our end, on the county end,
Saying what exactly?
agreeing that those conditions would be removed.
Well, then the
From
risk,
this
the risk we run today, though, is that if they don't agree, then we're, this is subject to a pending transaction. I can't convey this land without this consent. And if we're making it conditional on development engineering saying yes or no, well, if they say no, then I can't get my consent. Then, then this consent is dead in the water. If what we can commit to, what we can say is we're willing to provide an acknowledgement. How will we do this? We are willing to provide an acknowledgement saying that these items may be required as part of any future development in the property. So then that way, it's a clean tie-off. We'll say we acknowledge these things.
I think you should do that anyway.
The other option is we could defer the application and you could go back to development engineering and request them to remove these conditions. Would you like us to defer it?
That's your other option.
No, I'd rather not defer it again because we're on a pretty tight timeline with the pending transaction. So again, my ask would be that the approval be that these conditions be struck, and if it's requires an email from development engineering, then then that's what it will be.
Well, the motion reads that we're approving your application subject to development and engineering removing the conditions 2 through 6 with a paper trail. An email from the department head would include a paper trail. Okay, I think that's where we're at. Or we're looking for a deferral.
I can't agree to a deferral on my behalf of my client, so
I think we've compromised.
Sure. Okay.
Pretty good. Okay. All right. So can I get a mover of that?
I move the motion.
Okay, Linda, thank you. And a seconder?
Rudy seconds.
Okay, so file number BNPL 2022-208. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, complies with the policies of the Norfolk County official plan regarding creation of a lot within an urban boundary and meets the intent of the zoning bylaw, and that no public input, well, there was some public input, was received and therefore has been considered, even though it doesn't really apply to this application. But anyway, and as it has been considered as part of this application, subject to development and engineering removing conditions 2 through 6 by way of a paper trail. All in favor? Marcel? Lisa? Rudy?
Yes.
Adam? Linda?
Yes.
And myself. That's approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next up. File number BNPL 2022-223, Arvane Farms, Inc., Limited. And the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage approximately of 121 meters and a regular width of 155 meters and a regular depth of 155 meters and having an area of approximately 4.85 acres and retain a parcel having an area of 27.7 acres as the creation of a lot. To keep it brief, the LPRCA has submitted a comment noting they have no objection to the concept of the proposal. However, the MTO has submitted a comment noting that due to the existing access density requirements for the lands to be severed, which have frontage on Highway 3, in addition to concerns related to spacing, speed, and highway geometry, the MTO is unable to support any upgraded or intensified use. So they presented two options as kind of two sets of conditions, which would enable the MTO to support the consent application. One involves a rezoning, and the other involves an easement. So I've notified the agent, and for the time being, I'm recommending deferral to work with the applicant and agent to ensure the application complies with and meets the policies of the PPS and official plan, and just determine applicant's desires on which conditions to proceed with. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there an agent or applicant on the line? No, anything from the committee?
I have some comments. I'm just going to ask staff if they could put up the MTO options on the screen so I can see them.
Through the chair, do you want to see the two different sets of conditions from the MTO?
The options A, actually option A is the one I'm most interested in commenting on.
Sure. One moment, please. I might be able to read it out. I'm not sure if we have it available in the presentation. Would that suffice?
Sure. Yep.
Thank you. Just one moment, please. I have it. Thank you. So option A states MTO supports the consent application under the following conditions. The lands to be retained are rezoned to prohibit any future intensification, including the construction of any structures. So, for example, outbuildings, homes, or otherwise, and the existing Highway 3 access be limited to agricultural or field use only. The proponent shall apply for and obtain an MTO entrance permit to recognize the same. I believe in my discussions with the agent, they are interested in option B, but some additional time would help us determine that that's appropriate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So just some comments that I have with regards to this. They're supporting, if you were to look at option A, MTO is supporting the farm entrance be used for farm purposes. And they want the lands rezoned. And my question to planning staff is, through the agricultural zone, the lands would already be restricted to agricultural uses only. Am I correct?
Thank you. Through the chair. Sorry, could you restate your question? That the current agricultural zoning only permits current agricultural use?
Right.
Right. So I don't want to speak on behalf of the MTO, but my understanding is that they would want a zoning bylaw amendment to prohibit future intensification. So that means it would limit things that are currently permitted in the agricultural zone, which includes homes.
Okay, so I feel that the MTO is overstepping, or I'm not happy with what they're suggesting here. Anyways, I guess there's no other way to put it. I don't want to hold up if the severed parcel is industrial and it has a development proposal currently coming forward on that land. I don't think we should be holding that up to deal with an easement over the severed parcel. I feel like we should be approving this application, and it'll be up to the owner to decide whether he wants to do the easement or whether he wants to continue to use the Highway 3 access only for farm purposes. And anyway, I just feel like MTO is being unreasonable, and they're not, they're restricting the development proposal from coming forward in a timely fashion. So my personal thought is we proceed and approve the application. And I don't know whether the committee has any other comments, so we can see what they have to say.
Anybody else? Marcel?
Just I agree with Linda, and I think we should move forward with the application.
Okay. Rudy, got any comment?
No, I'm fine, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, all right, just checking to make sure you're still with us there. Okay, so what are the wishes of the committee? We have a motion to, or a recommendation to defer.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Alternative?
Sorry, I was gonna make a motion that we approve the application.
Okay. Seconded by Adam.
Yep.
That file number bnpl 2. Oh, I should ask if there's an agent or applicant on the line here. I guess I think I did that already. Yeah, it's getting to be a long night. Anyway, application file number bnpl 2022-223 Arvane Farms Limited, moved by Linda, seconded by Adam, that this application be approved. Scratch that in. To ensure the application complies and meets with the intent of the policies of the Norfolk County official plan, policies, provincial policy statement. No public input was received and therefore have not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel and Lisa and Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam, Linda,
Yes.
Sorry, just to clarify, it would be, if I understand correctly, for condition B that the MTO is proposing, just to make sure we're voting on the correct conditions. There's different attachments with different conditions.
Well, no, my motion was to approve it without MTO conditions. Or option A, but I don't feel the property needs to be rezoned. I think that's unreasonable. The retained lands are zoned agricultural, certain uses are permitted, and I think if MTO has an issue with anything that happens on the agricultural lands, it can be dealt with through the Farming and Food Protection Act with the property owner. So I'm saying we just approve the application without MTO conditions.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
I'll just note that on the bottom of the so anyway, those are all in favor. So myself, and that motion is approved without MTO conditions. Oops.
Is now joining.
So next up is file number bnpl 202217.
Is now exiting.
1278424 Ontario Inc. Lakeshore Road. Planner, get the report, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. An application has been received to sever a parcel having no frontage, a depth of approximately 645 meters, a width of approximately 382 meters, and an area of 13.21 hectares as a boundary adjustment. The lands will be added to the existing parcel located immediately adjacent to the north of the subject lands, resulting in a final lot size of roughly 41 hectares or 103 acres. The lands are located east of the urban area of Port Dover. The subject lands are occupied by 2 wind turbines. They are designated and zoned agricultural and hazard land, and as such are within the LPRC's regulatory boundaries. The LPRC has submitted a comment noting there is no objection to the concept of this application. It's my understanding the reasons provided in the application for this boundary adjustment include to better align with the existing natural features and satisfy the condition of a real estate transaction. So my report outlines policies from the provincial policy statement in the official plan, just articulating that lot adjustments in prime ag areas may be permitted for legal or technical reasons. So staff reviewed the site and essentially are of the opinion that the natural features do not inhibit the ability of either parcels to continue farmer practices. I don't believe that fulfilling the condition of a real estate transaction is a legal or technical reason. And that a 13.21 hectare or roughly 32 acre parcel is a minor boundary adjustment. And the official plan policies follow that direction from the PPS. So in short, I do not consider it to meet the intent of the PPS and official plan as it pertains to minor boundary adjustments for technical reasons, and recommend for refusal. If it is approved, the conditions included in attachment A include a standard condition from development engineering. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Any questions from the committee? Is there an applicant or agent on present? Okay.
Mitchell Baker, planner with Land Pro Planning Solutions. I'm the agent on this application. This is Graham Dyer.
I'm sorry?
Graham Dyer, landowner.
Okay.
So through the chair, firstly, I'd just like to thank staff for preparing the staff report. However, we respectfully disagree with staff's recommendation. They noted that the boundary adjustment was not for legal or technical reasons and that it is not minor. Although, as the PPS defines legal or technical reasons, they include severances for purposes such as easements, quit claims, or minor boundary adjustments that do not create a new lot. However, we do not believe that this is an exhaustive list of documents that are for legal or technical reasoning. We believe that this is for legal reasoning, as it is to fulfill a condition of the agreement of sale, as section 4.4E of the agreement references this proposed boundary adjustment specifically. I do have a couple copies of the purchase agreement here, if the committee members would like. Additionally, we do believe that this is a minor boundary adjustment. Although 13.21 hectares may numerically seem large when considering the proposal as a whole, it is quite minor. We believe that adjusting just the southern boundary line to follow the natural break and contours of the existing topography makes that a minor boundary adjustment. So just to reiterate that we're not looking to create a new lot and we're not removing any agricultural lands from production. We're just looking to fulfill the conditions of this agreement of sale, which is a legally binding document, and maintain those efficient farming operations for each property and each property owner. We do appreciate your time considering this application, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee?
I have a question. I'm just curious why the purchaser requires the additional piece of land.
I personally can't speak to the details of the purchase agreement, or perhaps for him.
Good afternoon. So in essence, we've owned all of this land for the last 17 years. The smaller parcel to the north is owned in the company name 127, which is the parent company to the farmland that was owned around it. The part to the east and south was about 470 acres. That's the part of land that we were approached to sell. So we wanted to sell it, but keep a contiguous line from our north. The smaller farm we'd like down to the drainage ravine on the south side. The smaller farm's not tile ready, so that's a little bit wet. We continue to farm it all. It's just that we've sold the parcel to the east, but without keeping that triangular part, we've got no access point to the ravine for the farmland.
Okay, so it's basically for drainage purposes. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, so again, the new owner with the land to the east, we didn't want to have an access challenge in getting our farmland drained the 70 acres that's on the north side.
Okay. Okay, that answers that question. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? So we have a recommendation to refuse. I get a motion for that or an alternative?
I just have a comment that, like, with the explanation from the owner, it seems to make sense to me. And given that it's ag land going to ag land, it's not changing, it's going to be attached to another farm. I don't really see a problem with the application. I understand staff's issues with the policy. However, it's to me similar to lot relocations in one way, similar to those. So I feel like I could support the application. particularly if it's going to solve a drainage problem and not have to create drains across other farmland or farm owner properties. So I will make a motion to approve the application.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
may I speak? It's Mike Sullivan with Land Pro Planning Solutions. In support, to add on to what Mitch was just saying, I wanted to bring the committee's attention to three of the conditions, which I don't believe are needed for this property. Condition 2 and 3, which indicates a new civic address will be assigned to both properties. One property is vacant, does not require, in my view, a new address, and the other property has a house on it, which there's actually no actual physical changes to the property except this changing. So I don't see the need for a civic address, which would be conditions 2 and 3. And condition 5, perhaps I could get staff to identify why a 1 square foot portion of the land presently owned would need to be conveyed. I'm somewhat confused by that.
Okay, just a sec. Sorry, Mike, you said condition 2 and 3? Was it?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chair, because I don't think there won't be, and staff can correct me on this one for sure, but I don't believe there's any need for a new civic address on either the severed or retained parcels at this point.
Can I suggest that we just, for condition 2 and 3, just add confirmation from, I don't know what department looks after civic addressing, but confirmation from civic addressing services that no new civic addresses are required for the property. So replace 2 and 3 with confirmation from the civic addressing staff that no new civic addresses are required. So if they are required, then they will have to do that. If they're not, they'll confirm and they're not.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm fine with that one. Thank you.
I just wanted to go back to Mr. Sullivan for a minute because you did mention condition 3, and on my list of conditions, that refers to a drainage assessment reapportment be undertaken. Is that what you're referring to, that condition being dropped too, or not?
No, sir. Just my condition 2 and 3. I'm looking at the report now, which it talks about a civic address. Number 2 is civic address for the severed parcel, and number 3 is a civic address for the retained parcel.
Okay. The official application has a different numbering sequence. So okay.
Okay, I apologize for any confusion.
So you mentioned another condition, number 5.
Yes, sir. It begins that a 1 square foot portion of land is presently owned.
Yeah, just a second. We're getting an answer right now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you through the chair. So just to give some explanation here. So this is a necessary step in when you're changing a portion of lands and flipping it to another. It's a technical step that's necessary to make that legal merge happen. It is not something we would recommend waiving because through the legal process, this 1 square foot changes the way the property lines are and then triggers that merger piece. So it's absolutely necessary and a standard condition in any boundary adjustment or farm split, however this is being approached. But it is absolutely a necessary condition to make what you're asking for to legally happen.
Okay. Good with that, Mr. Sullivan?
Through the chair to staff, that suggests that the lot in question was created by severance. So once a lot, always a lot. Is that the reference you're using? I understand your rationale. I'm just trying to confirm that it's because that lot was created by severance. Therefore, once a lot through severance, always a lot. Then you have to change the legal description.
Through the chair, yes. So again, I do apologize having come back. I haven't reviewed the reports. I'm just speaking to answer where the context of that condition comes from. So yes, it's the once a lot, always a lot approach to trigger that merger.
Thank you for the clarification. I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we can, what we'll do is we'll leave the condition 2 in, subject to confirmation by, I'm guessing, development engineering do civic addressing? No? Mapping
Through the
doesn't?
chair, yeah, I can speak to that because that's a GIS condition. So it's really typically a safety thing where we're applying addresses to newly created or adjusted parcels.
Yeah.
And again, it's just typically a standard condition that is given. Oh.
So there's no.
So maybe there
no
was,
frontage to
so what I'm going to say is it could be it was included in the template but not removed. So it can be removed, yes.
Okay, all right, so we'll waive condition 2. Maybe just for safety's sake, we'll leave it subject to GIS confirm, no? Okay, because it has no frontage. Yeah, okay, all right, we'll move that one complete. Okay, where are we going here? Are we done? So I guess I'm looking for a motion. Someone like to move a motion here on this application?
I think did I not have a motion on the floor that we approve it?
You did now. Can I get a seconder, please, Lisa? So, just adjust this. This is consistent and it does sort of comply. No public input was received and therefore has nothing. Okay. So file number bnpl 2022-217. The name of 1278424 Ontario Inc. This application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, does comply with the policies of the Norfolk County official plan regarding the boundary adjustment in an agricultural zone, and that no public input was received, and that therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel and Lisa and Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam and Linda?
Yes.
So, and that is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. I'm running out of water here, so I just let's take. We'll be back in less than 5. Okay. Linda and Rudy, we're back.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Very good. Yep, good.
So next up is file number BNPL 2022219, John Lennox. And the planner, give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage approximately of 75 meters, width of 80 meters, depth of 110 meters, an area of 2.24 acres, and retain a parcel having an area of approximately 28.44 acres as a severance of a dwelling made surplus through farm amalgamation with an easement having a frontage of 5 meters, a regular depth of 85 meters, an area of 723 square meters. So the subject lands are located east of the urban area of Port Dover. They are designated and zoned agricultural and hazard land, as such are regulated by the LPRCA, which have submitted a comment noting they have no objection to the concepts of the proposal. The lands to be severed are occupied by a single detached dwelling, detached garage, shed, and pool, and the lands to be retained do not contain any buildings or hazard structures. Staff noted on the conceptual plans submitted, there are some trees which appear to intersect the lot lines, and the shed's proposed to be removed. So just a standard condition is recommended by planning that a survey be submitted confirming which lot, whether it's severed or retained, the trees are located on to add clarity and reduce any potential land use conflicts in the future, and just confirming that the shed is removed. The lot size does exceed the minimum of 2,000 square meters. Typically, as you all probably know, I'm not really supportive of lots this size, but each application is reviewed in context and site-specific considerations. And I've concluded there's no alternative configuration that would reduce the lot size. So with that said, with these considerations in mind, staff evaluated the proposal through the relevant sections of the PBS and OP and concluded it meets the intent of the policies regarding severances for residences made surplus through farm amalgamation. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee? Applicant or agent?
Hi there, Mitchell Baker, planner with Land Pro Planning Solutions. I'm the agent on this. Firstly, I'd just like to say thanks staff for preparing the staff report. We did work closely with planning staff to reduce this lot size as much as possible. I did want to note an error in the paragraph. It is 28.44 hectares, not 28.44 acres of the retained parcel. That's approximately 70 acres. But we're supportive of staff's recommendation and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the committee? Marcel? Move for approval? Okay, Marcel moving for approval. And a seconder, Lisa? Thank you. So application file number BNPL 2022219, naming John Lennox, that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, complies with the policies of the Norfolk County official plan regarding the creation of a lot within an agricultural area and meets the intent of the Norfolk County zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel and Lisa and Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam and Linda?
Yes.
And myself, yes. That is approved. And thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Next up, file number BNPL 2022221, David Eccles, and the staff can give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage of approximately 24 meters, a width of 24 meters, a depth of 49 meters, and an area of 1,207 square meters, and retain a parcel having an area of roughly 1.15 acres as the creation of a lot within the urban area of Delhi. The lands are designated urban residential and zoned R1A. The intent of the proposal is to address a merge on title. As part of the technical review, Development Engineering Department has included 2 conditions in their comment, which are included as attachment A, and planning staff review the proposal and find it meets the intent of the PPS and official plan and recommend for approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the committee? Is there an agent or applicant?
Mitchell Baker, I'm also the agent on this. I'd just like to thank staff for preparing the report, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there a member of the public that wishes to speak to this application? Can I get a motion from the committee? Adam, for approval? And seconder? Lisa, thank you. So file number BNPL 2022221, the name of David Eccles. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, complies with the policies of the Norfolk County official plan regarding the creation of a lot within an urban boundary, meets the intent of the zoning bylaw, that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel and Lisa and Rudy?
Yes.
Adam and Linda?
Yes.
And myself. That is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is file number BNPL 235.
Is now exiting.
The name of Sharonjit Ngia. Hope I have that right. And the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received to sever a parcel having an approximate frontage of 12 meters, depth of 19 meters, and having an area of 248 square meters, and I retained having a the same area, as the creation of a lot within the urban area of Simcoe. So to provide some context, the subject lands were subject of a previous severance application in 2020, which was approved in October, received a certificate of official. However, it lapsed due to a requirement for a minor extension of the sanitary main along Short Street. The severance application, so this severance application is replicating that one, and there's an associated minor variance application from 2020, which is also approved to permit a number of deficiencies, including a rear yard setback, front yard setback, lot area, and some projection of steps. And the intent of the application is to subdivide the lot for some detached dwelling. So the lands are designated urban residential and zone R2. Review the proposal and determine it meets the intent and purpose of the PPS official plan and zoning bylaw, and are recommending approval, subject to the conditions, which the intention of them are to address servicing requirements. So these conditions were, what's included in the report was pulled from the proposed conditions from the applicant as part of the application, and then the standard conditions from development engineering. I understand the agent may want to discuss some of these conditions, and I am available for questions. Thank you.
Okay, anything from the committee? Is there an agent or applicant present or on the line?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Scott Plandre with G. Douglas Valley as the agent.
Okay, go ahead.
So obviously, thanks to Norfolk County staff and Honey for working with us for this application. It is, yes, a little bit of a weird situation given that there were 2 severances that were approved, one to create the block at the back of the property and then to further subdivide that. And as it has been pointed out by staff, The reason we believe that they let the second application lapse was because it does involve a minor, even though it is minor extension of the sanitary main, it is a significant amount of engineering work and actual physical work itself. With regards to the conditions and discussion, conditions 2 and 3, those two conditions were proposed by myself and the Valley staff. The reason those two conditions were proposed was a similar situation was a similar severance had happened in Waterford, where in order to be able to extend the sanitary sewer, a condition of severance was the two conditions that we proposed. However, through the review process with development engineering, they came to the realization that this could be handled through a Norfolk, we believe, a road occupancy permit process, and that those conditions weren't valid on the severance. And it's not that they weren't valid; it's they weren't accurate, as it could be handled through a different process rather than through the agreement, as we've stated in those conditions. So what we're seeking is to have condition 2 and 3 struck, given that they were proposed by ourselves in order to help the approvals process. But now, given we understand how this situation will be handled with the county, we are seeking to have those two conditions removed.
That's sorry. Just this is one more.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
go ahead,
so
yeah.
Just to add some additional context, so planning staff did review these two conditions with me in the last couple of days, and they are redundant based on existing protocols in place through the county. So I'm completely supportive of removing those because the requirements will be captured through alternative processes.
All right, thank you, very good. And the agent is good with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Anything else?
Nope. The rest of we agree with the rest of the conditions, and again, thanks to staff.
Oh, okay, very good. So, anything else?
Yes.
Adam, Linda,
Yes.
so that's approved. Moving right along. We are at 204. Okay, application ANPL 2022-204, Christopher Bodish. Planner, give the report, please.
Norfolk County official plan and zoning bylaw. Planning staff support this application and recommend it be approved.
Okay, thank you. And from the committee? Is there an applicant or agent? Is there a member of the public that wishes to speak to this application? Can I get a motion from the committee?
Adam move approval.
Adam moves approval. And a seconder, Marcel? So file number ANPL 2022-204, name of Christopher Bodish. In accordance with section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the requested relief is considered appropriate for the proposed development, minor in nature, maintains the general intent of the official plan, the zoning bylaw, and no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All in favor, Marcel? Lisa? Rudy?
Yes.
Adam? Linda?
Yes.
Myself. That is approved. Next up, we have file number ANPL 2022-213, Danny Young, 49 Brock Street, Simcoe. Can you give the report, please?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. For this application, it's been received to construct a 12-foot by 24-foot accessory building requiring relief of 0.44 meters from the interior side yard of 1.2 meters to permit a decreased interior side yard setback of 0.762 meters. I would like to point out in the agenda package, the subject component summary of this application is incorrect. It says minimum rear yard setback. It was supposed to say interior. It's just a grammatical error. So the subject lands are located along Brock Street in the urban area of Simcoe. It's along near the intersections of Brock and Oak Street. The area of the property is about 531 square meters with approximately 15 meters of frontage. And the property currently consists of a single detached home. And the property itself is surrounded by predominantly residential uses all around the subject lands, as well as a place of worship to the north. So the Norfolk County official plan designation for the property is urban residential, and it is zoned urban residential type 1B. The application is consistent with the PPS and conforms to the Norfolk County official plan and zoning bylaw, and planning staff support this application and recommend that it be approved.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the committee? Is there an applicant or agent? Anything to add? Nothing? You're good? All right. Is there a member of the public that wishes to speak to this application? If you're here online? No? Can I get a motion from the committee, please?
Adam moves approval.
Adam moves approval. Thank you. And a seconder?
Rudy seconds.
Okay, Rudy, thank you. So file number ANPL 2022213, in the name of Danny Young. In accordance with section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the requested relief is considered appropriate for the proposed development, minor in nature, maintains the general intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel, Lisa, and Rudy?
Yes.
Adam, Linda,
Yes.
myself, and that is approved. And next up is file number ANPL 2022215, Jesse Brummett, 201 Argyle Street, Simcoe. Planner can give the report, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair. An application has been received to construct a 7 meter by, it's essentially constructing an accessory building that requires relief of 5.92 meters from the required exterior side yard of 6 meters to permit a setback of 0.08 meters for the exterior side yard. So site characteristics, the subject lands are located along Argyle Street in Simcoe. Located at the intersection of Argyle and Basil in the urban area of Simcoe. The subject lands are roughly 522 square meters with 19 meters of frontage along Argyle Street. The subject lands are occupied by a single detached dwelling and a small shed. The official plan considerations for this property are urban residential, and it's zoned urban residential type 2. For this application, there were some comments that were provided, mainly comments of, I wouldn't say concern, but I would say something that the applicant would definitely want to speak to in terms of their application as a whole, in terms of getting the garage built, would be to speak to the building department regarding their comments and conditions. Or sorry, not a condition, just a comment. Just wanted to clarify, just a comment regarding the spatial separation between the building and the 0.08 exterior side yard setback. For this application, staff are recommending that the application be deferred to allow staff more time to work with the applicant to discuss the location of the proposed garage. I'm available for questions if there are any from the committee or members of the public. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the committee?
I just have a question. So with regards to the recommendation for deferral, it's related specifically to building comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Not specifically just the building comments, but the overall location of the building as a whole.
Okay, and so, but the building comment was with regards to spatial separation, and there's a street beside the lot line. So I'm not sure what the issue would be there. Do you have any insight into that?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I am not a building inspector. I don't know the Ontario Building Code in any capacity, so I would defer any of those questions or comments to the building department, recognizing that there's no one from building here.
Right. Okay. Is the property owner present?
Yep. Okay, you're up.
Hi, thanks for having us. I'm the property owner, Jesse. This is Joel.
Your full name?
Jesse Grummett.
Okay.
And this is Joel, he's the constructor.
Okay.
I guess just an explanation for the location would be that the location of the property is on Argyle Street, so there's quite a bit of a hill. So along the entire east side of the property is all a large elevation between both properties. Everything steps down. So for us to look at multiple locations, the location we've chosen is based upon access from the driveway along Basil, and that is the most level and sort of drainage accessible point in the property. Off of Argyle Street, there is no access or driveway, and there is also utilities that come off that part of our property as well. So we wouldn't be able to put any sort of structure in that front portion because we would have to relocate any sort of gas lines and services. And our property does go on a bit of an angle. Nothing is sort of square. So for us to put the garage in more of a square portion of the land, it kind of brings that corner of the property, or sorry, corner of that building or structure close to the property line. And that's why we've asked for that 0.08.
Excuse me, through the chair, sorry to interrupt. Thank you guys all for having us. Is there a site survey we could bring up just to help visualize that in the PowerPoint? Because you will see like if we have, so we did get a grading plan for the project, and the rear elevation, like it's not, so he said slight hill down Argyle Street. We're talking like 8 meters from the back of his property to the front of his property. It's not a slight hill. It's like your garage would be half inside of a hill if you move it the other way. So I just wanted to make that clear, as I know there is a grading plan. I didn't know if it was something that we had in the documents, just to kind of paint a picture for how drastic the elevation change is. The house is on a flat portion of the project, and it goes flat and runs flat until it's Argyle Street. But everything on the Basil side in that corner, which is where the driveway unfortunately is located, is all the steep hill section on that area.
Okay, so just going back to what the other committee member was referring to, the building inspector has commented, or the building department has commented that the designer, that would be yourself, I guess,
correct,
will need to include in the drawings comments to section 9.10.14, spatial separation between buildings, as it relates to unprotected openings and for the construction of the exposed building face the garage to the exterior lot line with a setback of 0.08. So I guess what their question is the positioning on the lot of your structure. And if I may, is that kind of where you're going with this, Linda?
Yes. I wasn't sure, like the building department, are they like they commented on the 0.8, but there's no buildings on the other side of that property line. So I'm not sure what the spatial separation is all about.
How close? So the drawing that I'm looking at is on the screen now.
Yeah,
shows the corner of, the rear corner of the garage, proposed
Yeah.
garage, to the corner of the house. What's that distance? You know, offhand?
Corner of the garage to the.
So the
corner of
rear,
house.
the right rear, as I'm looking at that drawing that you're looking at, so the right rear corner of the garage to the left front, well, it's left side corner of the house. I guess it's where the house and the garage are gonna meet at its closest point. What's that
Yes,
distance?
So for the exterior building face calculations and like the glazed opening and spatial separation, it's roughly 3.2 meters would be our limiting distance.
Okay.
So for the spatial separation, like we are prepared if it comes up in building stage to make that a firewall if necessary to meet those requirements for the building department.
Okay.
okay,
And that
so,
doesn't apply to this application, so I'm just curious. Okay, go ahead, Linda.
so that building comment will be dealt with through the permitting process. So my question to planning staff, what other issues do you have with this application? Or are there any other?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't necessarily have concerns. And like all the concerns that I had were pretty much met by the applicant. Providing
Okay.
reasoning, in terms of, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
So all
Okay.
The building concerns will be discussed at the permitting stage.
Right, so all the building inspector comments, when they apply for their
Yeah.
building permit, they would have to deal with.
This
building at that time.
application is all about setbacks and stuff, so.
Exactly.
We can just proceed with that. Okay.
Okay, so,
Go ahead, Linda.
so then there's no real reason to defer the application, in my opinion. I don't know if the other committee members have any other comments to that.
Through the chair there, Alan, I agree with Linda. I'm prepared to make a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, so, so do you have, any comment to that? Okay, all right. So, okay, so yeah, so we have a motion on the floor, it's moved by Adam, seconded by Linda, that the application be approved and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. Let me do some writing here. Straight there. Okay, so file number ANPL 2022-215, the name of Jesse Grema. This is a motion to approve. No public input was received and therefore is not considered as part of this application. All in favor, Marcel? Lisa? And Rudy?
Yes.
Adam? Linda?
Yes.
So that is approved. Thank you very much. Okay, next up is file number AMPL 2022-26 in the name of Lynn Wozniak at 31 Tamarack Way in Simcoe. I can give the report.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So an application has been received to construct to build an addition on an existing dwelling that requires relief of 2.7 meters from the minimum rear yard setback of 6 meters to permit a decreased rear yard setback of 3.3 meters and 0.4 meters from the required interior side yard setback of 1.2 meters to permit a setback of 0.1 just under 0.6 meters. The official plan designation for this property is urban residential, and the zoning is R4. The site consists of, it's a home within a townhouse block. So it's made up of approximately 252 square meters with about 8 meters of frontage. The site is located within a condominium development and backs onto a significant woodlot. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed sunroom addition would allow for sufficient outdoor amenity space in the rear yard, and they have evaluated the location of the proposed structure in conjunction with the zoning requirements, the size and the orientation of the subject lands. Staff are, a technical comment that I would like to point out again is the building comments. They are not conditions, but just comments that the applicant would have to follow up with the building department at the time of their application for the permit. So for this application, staff are recommending approval. It conforms to the PPS as well as the Norfolk County official plan and zoning bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the committee? Anything from an applicant or agent? Any member of the public that wishes to speak? Can I get a motion from the committee? Lisa would like to approve. So I have Lisa and Rudy can second.
I can second, yeah.
Thank you. So application number AMPL 202226, named of Lynn Wozniak. In accordance with section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the requested relief is considered appropriate for the proposed development, minor in nature, maintains the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel, Lisa, and Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam, Linda?
Yeah.
Myself, that is approved. And last, but certainly not least, ever, file number bnpl 2022224, and the Mike Schnarr. Planner, can you give the report, please?
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage of approximately 9 meters, which might have been missed in the public notice summary, but is captured in the mapping. Width of approximately 40 meters, a depth of approximately 71 meters, and having an area of 1,615.95 square meters, and retain a parcel having an area of 14.44 hectares as a boundary adjustment to be added to the existing lot located immediately adjacent to the southeast. So the subject lands, the lands to benefit are approximately 14.39 square meters. So we could be considered legal non-complying under the current zoning bylaw, which describes minimum lot size for surplus services as 2,000 square meters. It's occupied by a single detached dwelling, detached sheds, and a trailer. The subject lands are designated and zoned agricultural and hazard lands. So the applicant has included a brief describing why the boundary adjustment is required and how it meets the policies, which is included in attachment 2. So it's my understanding that the lands to be severed have had the grass maintained through mowing, and the severance will help maintain optimal nitrate levels for a future septic system that would be needed for an expansion of residential uses. An OSD form has been submitted demonstrating the existing septic system is in good working condition. As articulated in my report, pulling from the policies regarding when boundary adjustments are permitted, so for legal or technical reasons, that they're minor. General policies regarding agricultural system approach for prime agricultural land, the fact that the lands to be retained are being used for active cultivation. So for these reasons, I would recommend refusal, but it's the decision of committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the committee? Applicant or agent?
Thank you, everyone. The purpose of this application is really, it's just a minor boundary adjustment. We looked at the lands, the narrow part, the 9 meters to the north of the house from the site photos, if you saw them. That's already all maintained by the applicant. Approximately half of the lands to the east is already maintained and mowed by the applicant. And when we looked at the final boundary adjustment, we decided to match the existing boundary of the lot to the south, rather than having an awkward jog for the farmer to come in and maneuver their equipment. The final lot size will still be 0.77 acres, so it's still below the 1 acre recommended size for private servicing. This will give all of the septic systems working today. If the applicant decides to put an addition onto the house, the logical place would be to the east, and then this would give them some new area for a replacement septic system. So we believe that the adjustment is indeed minor, permitted by the PPS, and just represents a logical extension of the existing boundaries to the south.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the committee? Lisa?
Through the chair, just a question. You said that a large portion of it was being maintained already by the owner of the property. Do you have a rough idea of how much is being used at this point in time for farmland or other?
If you look, I think it's map A, the aerial photo kind of shows it. But certainly the existing part of the yard that he's maintaining does encroach onto the farmer's field. So again, we looked at, shortening that up, but it would just be an awkward way to put the land for the farmer, and the farmer agreed.
Through the chair, so realistically, you could say the majority of that isn't farmland anyways.
Of the whole parcel we're adding, most of it is already maintained as grass.
Okay. Anything else? Marcel?
It seems to be that the lot is enlargement.
I can't hear Marcel.
Is that a motion, Marcel?
Yeah, I move to approve that. I'm just saying that the lot size is undersized really for a septic system. So I think it's a good planning if it would be increased to 0.7 of an acre. So I would approve this application.
Okay, and so Linda, are you seconding that?
I'll second that.
Okay, thanks. It was a flip of the coin for. Okay, so file number bnpl 202224, the name of Mike Schnarr. Hope I have that right. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and does comply with the policies of the Norfolk official plan regarding the boundary adjustment in an agricultural zone, and then no public input was received and therefore is not being considered as part of this application. All those in favor for approval, Marcel? Yes. Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam? And Linda?
Yes.
And myself? That is approved. Okay, sir, thank you. Yeah, is there any other business? Any other business? No? Okay, 16 next month, maybe 17. So I have a resolution before me to adjourn. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Lisa will automatically move that and Adam will second it. And is there any discussion on that? No, all in favor, we say aye.
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 Thanks, guys. See you soon.